Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 Episode 18, Guilt Trip. Now, I don't want to call this episode a filler episode because it does give Ollie some character development in this episode, and not only that, you've got the B plot of the bad guys trying to get their super duper drill to dig into the ground, and they're doing that plan. But this episode, although it was a nice episode, it felt like a whole lot of nothing happened, but a whole lot of something happened. But I did enjoy the performance from the actors, such as Jordan Fite as Ion, the actress who plays Ollie's mum, and of course, Kai is always great as Ollie. I enjoyed his performance as that character. But what's interesting to note about this episode when I was doing research on it, it was an Ollie-focused episode in Power Rangers, but in the Super Sentai, it was a Gold Ranger focused episode, and that kind of does make sense with what they use with the Sentai footage at the start of the episode where Ion goes to Japan and hangs out with Ollie's mum, and that was really cool to see because they utilized the Sentai footage really uniquely in this situation by having the characters go to another place on the other side of the world when they use the morphed footage, and then when it's like unmorphed footage, they just have signs all over up in New Zealand or where they're filming with Japanese text on it that make it seem like they're in Japan. So some clever film work they did there, and the spots they chose to make it look like Japan, I feel like they did a really good job on that as well. Now, like I said, this was an Ollie-focused episode, and whenever Ollie gets a focused episode, I feel like recently with Season 2, he has had some development, but as he's sort of blossoming his relationship with Amelia, they always make Ollie go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then 2 steps forward again. And in this case, we kind of get a little bit more of jerk Ollie, but Ollie is kind of learning in this episode how to balance a relationship and spend time with the people he loves, and I do like how Amelia was the one to give him the speech by saying, "Hey, I never knew who my mother was, but you've got your mother and she's super cool, and she's kind of like a mother to me," and that's sort of hinting at that relationship. So it sort of teaches Ollie a lesson to be grateful that he's got someone who cares about him and is always checking up on him when he's on the other side of the world, and that's really nice. But again, like I mentioned earlier, we get jerk Ollie in this episode only for him to learn a lesson, but it's a nice lesson that he learns in this episode. Now, I did enjoy the Ion stuff where Ion sort of was the one who volunteered, or I think Ollie suggested that Ion should go to Japan and hang out with Ollie's mum because Ion loves food and he can try all the sushi and the ramen and stuff like that. And of course, this episode had the infamous spoiler tag image going around the internet that everyone lost their mind over of Dr. Akana licking the cream off her shoulder and Ion giving a disgust look because he thinks it's bird poop. And this image made people lose their minds because people were retweeting it, quote tweeting it, and it was kind of like the first image that a lot of people said, wow, this is the first thing I see that's Dino Fury spoilers related. That's kind of crazy. But it was kind of a funny image if you see it out of context, and it's probably going to be my thumbnail, no doubt about it. But the monster in this episode was super freaking weird. So, like I said, I had to go to Power Rangers Wiki to sort of get some information on this monster when they showed up and they started attacking, because it's a monster that throws cakes and pies and pastries at people, but in the Super Sentai, it's based on a dwarf from mythology and stuff like that, like Lord of the Rings dwarfs and stuff like that, and you can kind of see it with his design and his beard, where his beard is sort of like whipped cream in the shape of a beard. But it took me by surprise with how weird and wacky this monster was when he started hurling cakes and stuff at Ion, which we do get a really cool civilian fight in this episode where Ion fights the monster for like a couple of minutes unmorphed or a couple of seconds unmorphed, and I feel like the fight choreography, although it was short and short-lasted, it was really great and really well filmed, I will say that. It looked really great. But back to that monster. Yeah, that monster was kind of weird because in the Sentai, he was sort of like this dwarf-based monster that threw pastries at people, and I had no idea what the heck they were doing with it. So that's when I had to jump to the the Power Rangers wiki, and compare the two monsters and get some information about what this monster was based on in the Super Sentai episode. And that makes sense, and it makes sense why Ion was the first one to fight him, because it was an Gold Ranger focused episode in the Super Sentai. Now, we did get a little bit of focus on the villains in this episode, where Void King has this plan to steal Warden Garcia's big drill. So he stole the key a couple of episodes ago, or last episode, and he wants to use that key to sort of access that drill, but unfortunately the key doesn't work and his plan is foiled. So no doubt about it, we're still continuing this whole drill plotline in Power Rangers Dino Fury. So I kind of know where it's going due to spoilers and stuff like that as of the time of recording this video, but it's an interesting plan that Void King has, or Void Knight has, where he wants to dig underground to the Rangers base, because they'd never see it coming if he came from that angle. So it's an interesting angle that the villain has in this episode, and I gotta say, as a character that stormed the base in the first episode, he knows the place from inside out because he's actually been there. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 Episode 18. I didn't hate this episode, but again, with Ollie, it's a character that sort of jumps all over the place with character development and focus episodes, where they make him the jerk for one episode and then he learns his lesson and stuff like that. So I do wonder where the character is going to go at the end of the season. So that'd be something really interesting to see later down the line. But I didn't hate this episode. It was alright. It was a fun little watch. I enjoyed the Ion in Japan stuff. That was really cool. And to see Dr. Akana show up again was really great as well. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this episode? Love it, hate it, tell me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. With that said, I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you guys later. Peace out, take care, bye.